Hey guys! Yay! We have now reached the 10th episode of my devlog, which is kind of like a small anniversary. And anyway, we're following the progress of creating an indie game, which is a top-down shoot-'em-up that I'm coding in Swift on top of the Sprite Kit and Gameplay Kit frameworks. Since the last episode, I've implemented quite a few new things, including damage and health, game states, fragment shader, and I also refactored many parts of the code. Now, every entity have a health value, so they don't just immediately die when they're hit. Every entity also have a damage value, how much damage it deals to other entities, which allows for having different strengths for different bullet types. I also plan to implement weapon upgrades this time, but that will have to wait another week. But at least I changed the firing system to be more flexible, so that combined with the damage component, all the pieces are now in place to make that happen. And I also used the new code to upgrade the default testing bullets from previously looking like this to this. As the game code base keeps growing in complexity, I also started documenting the inner workings in a diagram. And I will keep adding parts of the game system to this diagram as I keep moving forward. It's not yet complete, but it's getting there. And I found this to be really helpful to quickly recollect how I set things up without having to go back and study the code all the time. So doing something like this, I would highly recommend. Then we have the game states, which is something I spent quite a lot of time to implement since the last time. To have game states make quite a difference as it becomes more of a complete game than just a prototype level as previously. So with game state, the game now have a home screen. It can enter a game over state when the player runs out of lives, and also a level completed state when the player completes a level. And with that comes switching to a new level after completion, as well as respawning the player when all health is gone with the next available life, if available. And I also added overlay handling so I can have a pause screen when entering pause state. And of course also update the level editor so I can work on multiple levels. Then another new thing which I hadn't done before is that I implemented a fragment shader to handle color changes when entities get hit. As Sprite Kit's own color blend functionality is based on multiply, it cannot really flash to white, and that's what I wanted. So with the custom shader, it now works as I want it to work, so not too bad. And I also added some logic to display a hit image or animation where a bullet hit an enemy, as well as a little particle spray at the hit point. And thinking a little bit further with some nice art for these effects, I believe it eventually will look quite cool. I also did quite a bit of refactoring of the code. The part I'm most happy with was that I improved the API for interacting with my bullet library that I created a few weeks ago, the one I called Bullet Kit. So the API has went from previously looking like this to instead look like this. Much cleaner and much easier to read. And it still has room for some more improvements, especially when referencing actions within other actions. So I'll probably give the API another refactoring pass before calling it done for this game. But so far so good. And at last, but not the least, I also settled on the name of the game. So it's going to be called Luna X Engine. No pretty logo yet, but the name is decided upon, which felt quite good. And there we have it. That concludes what I've been up to since last time. Next, I'll once again work on implementing weapon upgrades and everything else that comes with that. Also, it is time to start to think more about artwork. So I'm going to need to have a few concept art sessions soon. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little update. Check out my blog, where I'm writing more in-depth articles with code examples. And you can also follow me or reach out to me on Twitter. Links are in the video description. May the source be with you. Cheers!